Hello and welcome to SORHEA's Active Infrared webinar. My name is Benjamin Tate and I'm Head of International Sales at SORHEA. So I'm going to be your host for the next 20-25 minutes, and I'm going to present to you some thoughts and some themes about active infrared barriers used as a perimeter security detection system, and the unique aspects of SORHEA's active infrared barriers. So during the presentation, your microphones are going to be switched off. However, please feel free to write any questions that you might have during the presentation into the chat. And at the end, I'll be more than delighted to go through those with you. The presentation is going to be being recorded. And if you would like to look at or go through the presentation again at a later date, then please make a request either directly to me or your regional sales manager, and we can send you the link to download the presentation. So without further ado, let's make a start. First of all, let me introduce SORHEA to you. So SORHEA is a French company founded in Lyon in 1987, and we design and manufacture and commercialize a broad range of perimeter intrusion detection systems for critical infrastructure sites. Now, innovation and technology is key to our success, and that is thanks to the fact that we reinvest up to 12% of our turnover in R&D every year. So we have technology is key, and we have the most innovative solutions on the market. Quality is clearly a key factor to be successful in this field, especially when it comes to critical infrastructure sites. SORHEA is part of is a member and part of the Vita Protect group, which is an international group of manufacturers specializing in intrusion, access control, and smart video. There are 10 companies now located in that make up the group, and they are located in France, Belgium, the USA, and the UK. These companies have a combined turnover of 65 million euros and 380 employees. At SORHEA, we have 5 different technologies available to secure your sites. We have active infrared barriers, we have shock detection cables, dual technology motion detectors, electric fence with detection, and video analytics. So having a broad range of different technologies is a real strength, because it gives you the possibility to choose the right technology according to your site requirements and environment, security threats. There isn't a magic technology that can be installed everywhere. So having the right one for the right situation is a real plus. Obviously, it's also possible to mix different technologies together on the same site to further strengthen your perimeter security, and having technologies from different technologies from the same manufacturer sending alarm information to one unique centralized point makes your life as a systems integrator much easier. So these products, these technologies are being installed in multiple vertical markets. We're particularly strong within the industrial sector, so the production sites, petrochemical sites, etc. Logistics and transport as well is a key vertical market for us, whether it be car resellers, seaports, airports, train networks, etc. The energy sector is key as well. So we protect a lot of nuclear power plants, solar farms, energy production sites, local utility sites as well, water treatment plants, transformer stations, etc. We're also very strong in the military sector, police and prison sector, and we have hundreds, thousands of references around the world within all of these vertical markets. I put a few references at the bottom of this slide of institutions and companies that have been putting faith in our technology for more than 20 years now. So what is active infrared technology? Well, infrared light is positioned next to visible light in the electromagnetic spectrum. That gives it similar attributes to visible light, meaning that an infrared beam can see at least as far as a human eye. Put it simply, if a human can see, the infrared beam can see, especially on a clear day where there's no interference from poor weather conditions. However, in poor weather conditions, if we have the right technology, if we have the latest generation of active infrared cells, if we have the right automatic gain control, then we also have the possibility to reach up to, for the infrared beam to see up to 100 meters in all weather conditions, which could be a little bit more than what the human eye can see in thick fog, for example. So how is this infrared light used to make an infrared barrier? Well, to make an infrared barrier, we have transmitter cells, we have receiver cells over 100-meter range, and a transmitter board that sends an electronic signal to the transmitter cell, which switches on an LED light, which generates a beam of infrared, which is received and picked up by the receiver cell. This receiver cell converts that beam back into an electronic signal that is sent and analyzed by a receiver board. Now, these beams are pulsed. They're pulsed for two reasons. Firstly, to increase the life expectancy of your cells, so up to 10 years, and also to avoid any interference from continuous light sources such as direct sunlight, car headlights, etc. Why choose active infrared? Well, I mentioned earlier that there is no magic technology that you can install everywhere. Every technology has its strengths and its limits, and active infrared does too. So what are the strengths of active infrared barriers? Well, first of all, they don't require much space to function. So a few centimeters is enough. We're talking about a virtual wall of detection around a site or on a facade or a rooftop of a building. Active technology is highly reliable. So it's a technology that's been around for over 30 years. It's a proven technology throughout the world in various easy but also hostile environments. It's also very adaptable. So you can adapt active infrared, the use of active infrared technology to various applications within specific sites, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later. Active infrared barriers are easy to install and set up. They don't require a lot of special tools to function, and the maintenance of the barriers is pretty straightforward. You just need to clean the cover, wipe the cover down once a year, realign the cells if needs be, and that's it. In terms of limits, so yes, you cannot install infrared barriers everywhere. If you have a complex terrain that goes up and down a mountain, then don't choose active infrared as a solution. Active infrared barriers requires regular site maintenance when it comes to cutting the grass or making sure that tree branches are not getting into the barrier and cutting the beams. We're also limited to 100 meters range in all weather conditions. Where can we use active infrared barriers? Well, as I mentioned previously, there are many applications for infrared. We can install them between two physical barriers on a site. We can install them on a facade, on a rooftop, on a wall top. We can install them behind a gate or an entrance. We can even install them inside a building to protect the sky dome. They can be used to detect intrusions into a tunnel or a train depot, and they can also be used as a mobile security device. So various applications for active infrared when it comes to providing a reliable technology or solution for perimeter intrusion detection. What is unique about SORHEA's active infrared barriers? Well, first of all, before we talk about the electronics, let's talk about the housing. So we have 4 different housings available that can adapt to different environments, different applications. The traditional one is the 3000 housing, which is a housing installed on a pole that can go up to 5 meters in height. Now, with this housing, the infrared cells are installed one on top of each other, which means that on one direction, on one side, the bottom beam is slightly higher than the bottom beam on the other side. And this was one of the main reasons why we decided to come up with a new generation of housing, which is the 3100, which allows you to have all of the beams at the same height, especially the bottom beam. We call the 3100 housing the all-in-one housing because it also has an integrated anti-climbing cap that detects somebody who's trying to climb over the barrier by stepping on the top of the column. We also have an integrated cable protection with this product, and it's installed on a floor socket, which means that the maximum height for the 3100 housing is 3 meters and not 5. We also have the 3200 and the 3400 housing. So the 3200 is a special housing that allows you to install an infrared barrier on a slope between 15 and 45 degrees. And the 3400 housing is a housing that is designed with a double casing that is designed for use in marine environments where the air is very humid. You've got a lot of salt in the air that could corrode the electronics, and sea spray that can be a problem for more traditional infrared housing. So we have 4 different housings that can adapt to different site requirements. SORHEA has synchronized and multiplexed beams. So the transmitter and receiver cells are synchronized in pairs during the alignment setup. That means that we lock transmitter number 1 to receiver number 1, transmitter number 2 with receiver number 2 to prevent any interference from between, should we say, several receiver cells receiving the same infralight from the same transmitter. Because we synchronize, it also means that it's not possible to fool the system with light coming from continuous light sources, whether it be direct sunlight or car headlights. Now, SORHEA has invented what we call multiplexed beams. What is that? Multiplexed beams, that means that we're capable of saying that the transmitters emit beams one after the other, 1,000 times a second. So beam 1 switches on, switches off, beam 2 on off, beam 3 on off, etc., 1,000 times a second. The advantage of that means that there's only one active beam at any given time. And it also means that we know exactly which beams are cut at any given time, which allows us to provide various functionality. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that with the next slides. So detecting is easy. Anybody can buy a detector, $100 on the internet, install it. It will detect. But the problem is it will detect everything. The secret is not necessarily detecting. The secret is filtering unwanted alarms. And to filter unwanted alarms, you need technology. Without it, you will detect everything. So thanks to our synchronized and multiplexed beams, we have the possibility of providing you with multiple detection modes. First of all, you can have an infrared barrier that uses mono detection mode, So that means that you need to cut one beam to trigger an alarm. That makes the barrier quite sensitive. You can decide to use dual parallel beam detection mode, which means you need to cut two parallel beams to trigger an alarm. Now, the advantage of that is that you filter unwanted alarms coming from birds or flying objects that cut one of the beams but not two. At the same time as having a dual detection alarm mode, you can have mono detection of the bottom beam to detect crawling, but to filter have with a delayed reaction time that will filter unwanted alarms coming from small birds or animals crawling through that bottom beam. At SORHEA, you can also mix these mono beam detection, dual parallel beam detection, even triple detection at the same time. You can also adjust the reaction time of each of the beams to be very sensitive or not very sensitive, or anywhere in between. So you can adjust your the sensitivity of your beams according to your site requirements and the environment that you find yourself in. And the name of the game at the end of all of that is triggering an alarm when you need an alarm. And once again, to do that, you need technology. So, staying on the detection theme, SORHEA sells barriers. We manufacture and we sell barriers. We do not sell modules. Now, our friendly competitors, as I'm sure you know, they sell modules that they will install one on top of each other inside a barrier. Each module is independent, and you can have dead zones between two modules installed inside a column. This is certainly not the case at SORHEA. So we have barriers with ranging from 1 meter to 5 meters in height, from 2 to 18 cells. And you can decide how dense you want your infrared barrier to be. By that, you can decide to have a very high density infrared barrier with, let's say, 10 cells over a 2 meter height, or you can have a more standard setup with 2 meters and 5 active infrared cells. So you decide the density of your barrier in function of your budget and your security risk. Because we multiplex, we also only have one infrared channel per barrier. As you know, there are 4 available infrared channels. Now, a module, for example, will use up a channel. So if you have 2 channels, 2 modules inside the same barrier, well, then you already use up two infrared channels in one barrier. This is not the case at SORHEA. So it's 1 channel per barrier, which means that if the barriers are installed 100 meters apart, it means that 2 barriers using the same infrared channel can be up to 400 meters apart in distance, which means that there is no interference from barriers using the same channels, which is certainly not the case when it comes to modules, especially when they're installed in a straight line. So once again, technology, thanks to the synchronized and multiplexed beams that SORHEA has invented. Now, when it comes to alignment and setup, alignment is key because you can have the best infrared barrier in the world. If it's not aligned correctly, then the detection is poor. Now, we make this alignment as easy as possible. First of all, before you align the beams, the columns are shipped to you pre-cabled and factory tested. So you have nothing to do. You don't need to waste your time installing modules and clipping modules inside a column and taking a risk that you get it wrong. All of the cables, all of the columns are pre-cabled and factory tested and ready to plug and play when you receive them. So you install your infrared columns on the site and you align them. Now, we make this very easy for you with integrated alignment tools. So we have what we call an alignment feedback. So you can align the cells using the infrared beam that you get from the opposite cell. And when you're aligning the cells, you're looking for the sweet spot in the middle of that beam. And to make this easy, we provide a buzzer and LED lights. So when you find that sweet spot in the middle of the infrared cell, well then you'll have a loud continuous beep from the buzzer. All three LED lights will be switched on, and this indicates that you have a perfect spot-on alignment. You can lock the cell in place and move on to the next cell. Once again, no special tools are required. It's all integrated into the columns. We even have the possibility of setting up and configuring your barrier through a web interface. So you can log into the column via your network and adjust your reaction time of the beams, the thermostat heating, the alarm mode that you require for your barrier. So no specific tools required. Very easy and straightforward to do. Optimize your alignment and optimize your detection. Now, when it comes to exploitation of the alarms, once again, we provide you with various options that can adapt to your requirements. So for your infrared barrier, you can collect alarms from your infrared barrier from a secure radio network. So we can communicate the alarms via a secure radio network. We can also send them via dry contacts or via a bus, an RS485 bus cable. And we can also send them directly onto the IP network. So we have something which we call a maxi bus. Now the maxi bus collects and centralizes all of these alarm informations and sends them on to either a control panel using relay outputs, an automat, Modbus RTU protocol, and we also have an API and a Modbus TCP IP protocol for integration with VMS and SMS, such as Milestone, Genetec, and Cognify, Digi4, and others. So this is how we can collect the alarm information from our infrared barrier and communicate it on to whatever system is behind the maxi bus. In terms of maintenance, well, you have the possibility of remotely connecting to your infrared barriers via the network. So you can log in with an IP address, a login, and a password to any barrier on your site, and you get a live visualization of all of your beams on that site. So you can imagine that if a beam is poorly aligned or if it's damaged for whatever reason, then you can actually clearly identify it on the web interface before sending a technician out to the site to fix the problem. Now remotely, you can also adjust the reaction time, the thermostat heating. You can adjust the detection mode, whether you want to be on mono, dual, or triple detection mode, and you also have access to a history log of the most recent alarm events. We have additional functionality as well. We have what we call a zoning functionality. So that optimizes the use of your video system. So PTZ can zoom in to the exact zone of where the intrusion is taking place to give you a very good view of that intrusion. The sizes of your zones can be configured through the web interface as well. So it's very, very flexible. We also have a train filtering functionality. So this is the Eurotunnel in France. Also, we have the same on the UK side as well. So the train goes through the infrared barrier. There's no alarm. However, a human being walking through the barrier into the tunnel will trigger an alarm. So it's a very popular technology and solution for train tunnel protection. So we have all of this technology, and we spread it out into a range of products. We don't just have one barrier, one product to present you. We have a range of different products and solutions that adapt to different types of security requirements, environments, sites. For example, we have the essentials range. Now the Maxiris is our top of the range active infrared barrier with advanced settings, remote maintenance, multiple ways of communicating the alarm information. We have the Coloris, which is a more mid-range solution with no advanced settings, dry contacts only, but a more economic solution. But that's enough for many sites. We have what we call the autonomous range, so the Solaris, which is the world's first and only wireless active infrared barrier. It's solar powered with an autonomy of 6 weeks in total darkness. And we send the alarms via a secure dynamic radio network. Then we have what we call the specifics. The Uniris and the Biris, a small active infrared barrier that is used for gate top protection, wall top protection, or rooftop detection. Economic solution. We have what we call the Miniris. Now the Miniris is our active infrared barrier for facade detection that we can paint in whatever color you want us to paint it, so it can seamlessly fit in with the same color as the facade of the building. So yeah, so we have all of this technology that I presented to you. We have it spread across a range of active infrared barriers, and this is why SORHEA has earned the respect of security managers, of end users around the world, and why SORHEA is largely considered as being the leader when it comes to manufacturing active infrared barriers on a global scale. So thank you for listening. That brings me to the end of my presentation. And now I would be more than happy to answer some of those questions that you have posted in the chat. Thank you very much.